Welcome to another episode of Sticks and Scotch. Today we have a very special guest with us, David Peavy. I'm your host, Rahul Krishna, and then we got a co-host, Mark Lumen.
Hello, everyone.
And like I said earlier, we have another guest, David. And first, before we start, I'd like to thank you for filling in at the last minute. We had a cancellation, and we were going to interview him eventually, but this man came through us at the last minute. So for that, I thank you.
Well, thank you for inviting me.
Yeah. And then, so by the way, what we do is when we start, we light up our sticks. Hence the name Sticks and Scotch. Which now we have some sticks from Puerto Rico that my lovely wife has so kindly and graciously decided to get us while she was on her cruise. And that's what we'll be using today.
So, to begin, Dave, tell us a little bit about yourself.
David Peavy, grew up in Texakana, and some people don't like how I say Texakana. They say you say it's younger people, and I'm worried about losing people saying Texakana because that's the old school way of saying it. So to speak.
What's the new school?
Texarkana,
T-Town? T-Town?
Yeah, that's, as long as you're not near Tulsa, that works. And then except for 5 years in Fayetteville, Arkansas, and that's where I got a degree in electrical engineering. I know how to make a computer chip, but you don't really do that a lot around where we are. The only time I really use my degree is when some engineer is trying to tell me how it is, and I'll sign my name with my engineering title, and they start talking to you totally different at that point.
I got you. And you will find that very interesting as we get on and some of the things that you built, some things that you started in downtown. So you were born and raised here, and prior to getting into a lot of downtown business, you were in the electrical business?
Well, I was born in prison,
Yeah.
which is actually St. Michael's Hospital.
I was like, hold on.
Yeah.
Wait a second. Back up. But okay, go ahead. Now that you have clarified.
Well, we're here to bring up the energy here some. So yes. Did you have actually a real question there? Or was,
No, I mean, prior to, we're gonna talk about downtown, but prior to downtown, you were in the electrical business, were you not? Or
yes,
contracting business?
Yes, my father started contracting business in '67. He left in '87, and then I kept going along, and all of a sudden I counted up the years. I said, I've been here longer than my father was before he left. So we were looking at buildings. We had a thing north of town in Main Street. Anna McDowell asked me to bring it downtown, so we went looking around, and our downtown is so scattered about. Where would you put it? By the post office, by all the different. If we were going to build us a city, we'd build a square, make it square, and everything come out. Well, here we're all dysfunctional, and that's why I have the shirt on that says, what does it say? Home of the split personality.
Texarkana.
Because you have Texas on one side, and whether you the lady or man or whatever. But anyway, that's a shirt that we have down at the gallery. We can talk about that in a little while. But yes, I've been in electrical business. We built a lot. I was there when Ross Perot was putting money into the Perot Theater, and I walked by him and I said, "Excuse me," and his sister was there, and she says, "Okay." So anyway, a lot of the nice buildings that have been renovated or built, our company was involved in the Grimm Hotel building it. I did not do that development myself, but some people accuse me of that. I get accused of things that I haven't done. Sometimes I do things that I'm not accused of, so it's all balances out just fine.
So, at some point, you decided the contracting business, you're gonna kind of break away from that and go into downtown.
Well, when you reach these milestones of life, and you look for new chapters of your life. You'll say, okay, what do I need to do? Do I continue on? And some people do stay at their office till they're 85 years old, and it generally is from people below that where you find that out because they're not happy about that. But anyway, I didn't want to be there, and I wanted to move on and to do some different things. I looked at a building downtown, and it was in shambles. It was built in 1893 or 90. Well, we stay with 94 because it's good even numbers.
Right.
So anyway, the building was physically falling apart. The bricks were physically, the mortar was falling out, and so I said, yeah, that looks like a good opportunity.
They're the best.
So, do you want me to continue with that story? Or?
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
What building was it?
it was Ritchie Grocery Building. It was, if you have the right color above your ear, then you know what a neighborhood grocery store is. That means mom and pop stores in every neighborhood. Every neighborhood had the little mom and pop stores, and they were a wholesaler to those mom and pop stores. So that's what I try to tell the little kids. They don't have any idea what I'm talking about that. But I say you could go in and you could get you some candy and walk out, and they wouldn't be stealing, and they would let you go. And then, oh really? Yeah, they would put it on the mom and dad's tab, and they would pay it at the end of the month, and that's the way it was back in those days. Well, in '77, when all the convenience stores started coming in, it ran all the mom and pops out, and that's when that building closed down. It became a office supply place, and they put paneling on the walls and all kinds of things, and put lay-in ceilings in and carpet on the floor. And so the people I bought it from had tore some of that out. And so then I go over and get Miss Georgia. She has an art gallery around the corner on Broad Street, and I take her over there. It looks in shambles. It's just horrible. Just mold, everything. It just as bad as you can imagine. We have pictures of it in the gallery now, because I take her in. I said, would you like to move your gallery over here? And she looks around. This would be fantastic. And so she could see it as an artist type person. She could see it. And so in my mind, they said, how did you come up with this idea? I said, well, how do I get intelligent, smart, professional people to come into an abandoned building? I said, okay, put an art gallery in there. It makes it chic and nice. And so we started developing. At one point, I finished an apartment upstairs on the 3rd floor. And, or is this signaling here?
No.
I was seeing if they give me that lighter, but no, you're fine. No, go ahead, keep on going.
Okay, so, yes, at one point, I was the only person living in the building, and it was like a movie scene. You go through all this shamble, open the door, and all of a sudden, a nice air-conditioned apartment, and it's all pretty and painted up nice, and so it was. But I was in a 50,000 square foot building, abandoned building. I was the only person living there for about a year and a half. So, are there ghosts in old buildings? Well, I would be laying there at night, and I would hear things walking around and things like that. But I would be so tired from working that day, I'd say, whatever, I don't really care. One time I did hear someone walking around in the building.
Dang.
And so I got a handgun.
That
Well,
was me.
shit.
And
That was me walking.
And I walked around the building, and then I realized I had built a deck up on the roof, and it was the chairs blowing around out there. So anyway, stories about the building.
But hold on, back up. You're somewhat of an artist yourself, are you not? You brought up the art.
I spread some paint around every once in a while. Yes.
Graffiti.
So right now we've got an electrical engineer, we've got an artist, we got an entrepreneur. Okay, go ahead with your finish with your building.
And, yeah, and I'm a storyteller.
Yeah, and a
And a storyteller.
Yeah, we'll get to that. We'll get to the banana club here in a minute.
Okay, well, about the building, there's a guy named Mr. Mullins. He was big time in Texakana back in the day, and he was wanting to build this building, and so a guy up north that had married a lady named Daisy. And he was a go-getter guy, and they had a little saloon thing up there, and they learned how to make a drink that was real special. And so he gets on the train and comes to Texakana. He gets off the train and says, "Hey, I would like you to distribute our little drink." And they said, "Well, what is it? You know, we can transport on the train, and you can sell it here." I said, "Okay, well, I got all this building going on." So this guy loaned him $15,000, and that's where we think the building got all these nice, beautiful arches.
Oh, really?
All the windows have a real pretty and nice. It's a warehouse. Why would you do all that
Arches,
fancy? It was originally called Texas Produce, even though you're in Arkansas. However, all that produce was coming out of the valley down in Texas, so it was Texas
Through the
Produce
railroad.
Yeah.
coming up the railroad. So yes, so his name was Adolphus Bush, and his father-in-law was a guy named Anheuser.
You
And
talking
so-
about Budweiser?
I'm talking about Anheuser-Busch were walking around the streets, not a corporate name then, in the 1800s. And that's how when I find beer bottles hiding behind places, there's generally always Budweiser. And I do have a can from the 1930s, and it has holes poked in the top. Because it's a Budweiser can from the 1930s. And just because you invented the can doesn't mean you invented the pop top the same year.
Ah.
So
They
Interesting.
proposed to drink out of it.
yep,
Yeah.
yep. So yes,
Well, was it a church key that they used to,
no, it was like a
Yeah,
pocket. They most
pocket
likely
knife.
was stealing it at that point. People inside the building that worked in the building, they would say like this right here, and they'd back
I
going.
got you.
Go in the bathroom or whatever, I don't know. So, anyway, there's graffiti in the building, first day was 1903 and things like that, just little things on the walls and different places.
And to mention that, you're expanding, underground at that, location right now, are you not?
I can't really talk about that, but, there's two stories. When the city asked me what's going on, I will say that we were concerned about the foundation of the building, and we felt like we needed to strengthen it where the mortar was coming out. That's one story. The other story is, and we do have ghost finders. The ghost finders have been there once before. They're actually going to be in another one of our buildings tonight, where they have all this infrared cameras and things like that.
Ghost finders. Is that
They're called paranormal. Don't.
Okay, paranormal finders.
You make them mad if you
Yeah,
call them
they're-
ghost
Okay,
par-
okay.
paranormal. Yeah,
So is this
so,
for a show or is this just a
they just like
research?
looking
Little
for
R&D?
ghosts. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So anyway, we have people from Shreveport and the TV stations, and they'll come up and interview us about some of the same things. And one of them will be with them. I said, "You'll be my representative," and you can. So anyway.
And you also have a TikTok that that people can come look at, and you kind of show them little things that you're doing in and around the building.
Yes, and of course the other story to the project was that those paranormal people talked to Scott Joplin, and he was telling them that he had made a lot of.
The passed on Scott Joplin.
Scott Joplin died in 1917.
So they were talking to his
So,
ghost.
yes, talking to his, well, I don't know. I have to ask them about that. But in any case, he had made some
Sounds
money.
like they're not talking to him in person.
Well, they were talking to him, and I don't know anything more about the paranormal than that. But he said he had made some gold bars, has 5. I think he said 5 or 6, I'm not sure. But he had an uncle bury them inside that basement. I said, well, if it is true, it'd hate for them not just to be sitting there. So we are looking for those and reinforcing our building at the same time.
Wow.
And-
I did not know that.
And part of that might be true. Definitely not all of it.
She could use
What?
gold brick.
Let me know if you find the gold.
Yeah, hold on. Let us know about
There is a
about this
well
gold.
underneath the floor inside there. The well was there before the building was there. and you can see it, and I'm gonna excavate that. I have that on TikTok, and I'll try to go down and dig some more when I can. There's a lot of broken glass, I have to be careful. I'd like to put a giant piece of glass so you can look down at it from up above, and then I could have a way of getting it out of there more easily than what not to disparage any Marines, but I feel, when I'm going like that, I think I'm a Marine, but not a real Marine. Don't wanna
I got you.
any real one, so.
So you lived there for a year and a half, pretty much by yourself.
And
Or there was only one apartment.
And construction was going on during the day.
So, did you have, the gallery,
The
you did the first floor first?
The gallery and 2 apartments, and then we finished out the other 3 apartments, which we call the plaza down on the bottom floor. And then we started working on 13 up, so we have 18 apartments in the building. We have an art gallery, we have an antique store, we have a photo shop, we have 6 offices, and then we have 3 overnight stays.
And I've stayed in one of those before.
Which one did you stay in?
In the Cotton Belt.
In the Cotton Belt. They're named after railroads. Cairo, which is the one that came down to Fulton originally. Cotton Belt was a large line that came through, and then Texas Pacific was here before Union Pacific.
Yes. So that's cool. And so you have, those are overnight stays, and then you have long-term apartments.
Yes.
On, how many floors are in this?
3 plus the basement, so there's 4 stops on the elevator. And then there's a deck on the roof for that for one apartment.
And are you completed with your apartments?
Yes, I'm completed with that. I have one area that's not finished out, but we use it for storage and trying to maximize everything. You forget about storage, and that's something that you do need in a place. So you have to have some storage. So we're using it for that. But other than that, we're basically complete with that building.
My dad would be like, throw it away.
And he go ahead.
What does that mean? Throw it away?
Instead of storing it, like instead of storage.
Yeah,
especially definitely didn't believe in renting out a storage unit.
Well,
But let me ask you something about this. The first time I actually met you was the Bananas Club that you started with, and I'm not gonna say I was one of the first customer, but I was there when it was just
Yes.
getting off the ground. What made you decide to open up something like that?
Well, you go down in that basement and it's a dungeon. It's damp. It's smelly, and it doesn't have a way down. It was like being on a pirate ship, and you had to open up the doors to look down in there. Like the rail car would be on the outside, and they just drop things down and to store them or whatever. And it was a dungeon. So I said, okay, how do I get, again, intelligent professional people to want to come down into a dark, wet, nasty basement? Well, first of all, I jackhammered out the center area and dropped it down 20 inches so that the room would have dimension. And then I took everything that's interesting in the whole building, and they knew to bring it down, and we just had stacks of stuff everywhere. And then I said, well, what are we going to do with all this stuff? So the main thing is all the pieces from the old freight elevator. We put a new elevator in. So we have like the old wood doors, like the chick flicks used to have. Do they still have that in the chick flicks where you roll up the door to go up to the 3rd floor? I don't know, but they used to. So anyway, they're holding up our wine glasses. We have a piece of steel that says Carnegie on it, which is Carnegie Hall, Carnegie Steel. Has his name on a piece of steel, which that he sold out to J.P. Morgan in the 1930s. He became the richest man in the world over Mr. Rockefeller at that point. Of course, then J.P. Morgan went on from there. So, how do I get intelligent, smart people to come down there? I make it really cool to where they think that, and it is a speakeasy, and people say, I didn't know about it. Well, you weren't supposed to tell anybody. Anyway, that's part of the ambiance of
It
it.
has a code to get in the door.
Yes, it has a code to get in the door. Right now, it is 2025.
But if that doesn't work, you're gonna need to sign up for their Facebook page. You're gonna have to follow them on Facebook.
And I want to say that David has reconstituted just about every piece, if, like you was talking about the elevators, or if it was you had a bunch of big cogs and, old gears, old machinery, compressor, those kind of things down in that basement, and you've taken it and put it up against the walls and made it kind of a mechanical, I mean, it has a mechanical feel, even though it may be a bar with a mechanical feel, or, I mean, is that how you describe it?
Well, today people call it steampunk. That had, but these are not. It wasn't decorated. It was there, and it was the real pieces. We have people come up and looking at this giant compressor. We used to work on these down and blah 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 blah, and they're just fascinated by it. And then where did the banana come from? Well, when 1873, the railroad comes to town, and at that point, when it hit, but Texas El Paso becomes Texas Pacific. That means they've made the railroad all the way to the Pacific Ocean. So a banana boat could come up from Central America, drop them off. 3 days later, that could be right outside that building, and they had a place inside where we have our kitchen now. And they hung bananas and ripened them. So in the year 1900, you could eat a Central American banana in Texarkana walking down the street, which is it's like the cell phones today when the railroads came through.
I got you. It expedited it before it rotted, before the banana went bad or whatever. You could have a fresh.
Well, where would you get a banana in Texakana before that time? I mean, it opened up the world.
I'm almost that old, but not quite, so I don't have the answer to that. So now you have a club in the basement called the Banana Club.
It's a restaurant and bar type thing, yes.
And on the second floor, or the first floor, you have your art gallery.
Art gallery, and there's
Tell
an
us about
antique store.
the floor above that.
That's Studio 71. It's decorated in the 1970s, so we get a lot of reunions, and one of the best reunions we ever had was 1965. Now you do some math. People had graduated in 1965, and I had to run downstairs.
All 5 of them? What?
No, they had a room full, and I had to run downstairs and grab another bartender, get them up there, because they were at that bar and they were having a good time. And it was not a stand around thing. They had skits and all kinds of things going on. It was a great event.
So basement, club, first floor art gallery. Second is a event center.
Yes, and overnight stays, and it's all decorated 1970s. There's maybe 2,000 albums up there,
Really, I didn't know.
mounted everywhere.
And I know you have like a phonograph or a record player and that kind of stuff on that floor also.
Yes, yeah, we have 8-track tapes, and we can play 8-track tapes on it.
And you have an office up there that you're gonna rent me for, so we can have a studio so we can do these podcasts.
On location.
I would love for y'all to do that. Yes, we're gonna make it happen.
All right. And then you have your apartments on the
third floor.
third floor.
Yes.
So, that kind of completes when did all that come, when did you start that and when did you finish that?
Around 17 is when we kind of acquired the building. It took us 3 or 4 years. We had a really hard time. Bankers were not happy about anything. For some reason, they thought that was an old abandoned building that would never ever, but if you have enough fortitude, is that a word?
Yes.
Okay. You can
Means
make
balls.
you can make it happen. Yes, you have to. It is scary, and of course, bankers they get fired for making bad loans. They don't get fired for missing a good loan.
Yeah.
I thought we had a good loan. I had to borrow money on other properties to finance that one, and then I actually had to end up not wanting to make any bankers angry or anything. I had to go up to Jacksonville, Arkansas to get a credit union to loan the money to do the rest of the building. And because it's ballooning right now, that would have been 5 years ago, so that would give me an idea
Of how long it took.
2 to 3, a couple. We had about a year to year and a half, and bankers just told me, and honestly, you know, they said, we just don't believe in downtown. That's what they said, and so.
Because of the design, 'cause like you say, I'm from Tyler, it's got a square. Go to Longview, it has a square. Most places has a square versus this, where you go downtown and it just kind of splits into 3 different directions.
They can see failures happening, and part of the worst thing that can happen is these shows that used to come on Saturday mornings, but now they're on all the time. These design shows,
Yeah.
where they paint walls, they move one structural wall, they don't put a new roof on, they don't do new plumbing, they don't do new electrical, and then they said, we did it, you know, and they had the big opening, but it cost a whole lot more than what you anticipate. And some people jump in, and then they have to back out, because it's just hard. But I've done construction for a very long time.
And you do a lot yourself, do you not? I mean, anybody that's
DIY,
not
yeah.
ever downtown, David has always got on his work clothes, and he does a lot of this personally, not through a contractor or somebody.
Well, I'll go in and there'll be a messed up wall, and I will go buy some supplies, and I'll fix the wall. Because then I'm trying to make a determination, is it easier to cover up the wall or to fix the wall? I always want to fix the wall, but if it's too difficult for me to do, then it'll be for a craftsman that does that every day, it'll be difficult for them also. So, and then sweeping the floor, getting tar up off of whatever, you do it, to fill in the gaps of what the contractors would be doing.
So, and last week we talked about downtown with Caleb, and this week we're talking to David, and we've been fortunate enough to kind of see the growth of downtown, and it's been really phenomenal. But, and David is a big driver of what is going on downtown, and we're going to move on to some other projects. If you said everything about that project that you want to.
I'm happy to move.
What
on.
other projects you have in the works?
Well, we're working on a building that used to be called Owens Jewelers.
Yeah.
And Alexander's Jewelers learned their craft there and moved across town, and so it was a jewelry store. They put in a facade, and we went in and we tore it all off. We're putting in 5 apartments. The framers will start this coming Monday, and we got to build stairs going upstairs. And we would like to find a retailer. I went down and talked to the Bear Creek people down in Marshall, and thought that they could have an outlet up here, but. I'd look at all kinds of alternatives. I'd love for it to be a sweet shop just right across the street from TLC. But I went and looked at the Jefferson General Store, and thought that would be a perfect place for that. Looking at that, who I would put in there as a retail, and I do go overboard decorating things kind of like I like them to be, and then making the realtor, not the person renting, to kind of take what and run with it. But sometimes they want to do their own stuff, so I have to kind of shift that around. We just got on the National Register of Historic Places. Got my plaque in. I'm about ready to put it up. So that will allow that building, which has it was Porter McClure Paint Company, and that's when they put a facade on, a terracotta facade. And let me tell you, I looked at that building because that's the only one that was available on that side of the street in Texarkana, Arkansas. And you said, oh, there's nothing downtown. I bought it because I was seeing that as a unique building, and one of the last ones, meaning people need to jump in before there's nothing else left. Texas side's behind Arkansas side, but it's coming. once, you know, it's just like things grow out from there. So, yes, there's fewer and fewer places available. That everybody used to be looking for bargains, now they just need to be looking for a place. So anyway, we're gonna have 5 very nice apartments, and we call them luxury apartments. I think once you put the granite on top of that kitchen countertop, you can call it luxury. And we have the video doorbells and all that stuff.
Okay.
So it'll be real nice.
And it is a, probably, in my opinion, one of the prettiest facades that our elevations or whatever.
It looks like
downtown.
it looks like a little facade is right.
Yeah.
It looks like a little castle. It has a
Castle.
little thing.
Yeah, it's a gorgeous building.
They had tore out windows. I drove to Memphis and found some old steel framed window with the frames and had them re-welded and shoved up in there, and had to buy this cross reeded. You learn about things as you're doing this. This wavy on one side, wavy on the other side. It looks like little squares simply because it's wavy. About $70 per pane like that right there, and it was about $7,000 again to make it look originally to what it was, because there was some glass that was there, so we matched that.
Wow, I didn't know that. That's the first time you told me that. And we talk a lot.
Yeah, but there's a few things I haven't told you.
I know. So.
Can't tell you everything, Mark.
Do you have a completion time on that?
I would love to be finished in about 7 months. I get people texting me, calling me for space for apartments all the time. You were trying to help somebody out just the other day with the apartment. Everybody knows, and so everyone's coming downtown and they're saying, "Hey, I need a spot." When I say we're 100% full, 100% of the time.
Yeah.
We have people move out on Saturday afternoon and Saturday morning. Someone moving in Saturday afternoon, and I said, I didn't even clean it, you know.
Yeah.
So it's kind of strange. You and I used to go look for a place, and we'd sit there and we would go look at who had the best exercise room. We'd go look at the pool, look who's laying around the pool, and
Yeah.
That's my main thing.
that's how we would decide. But now,
No, you don't
People-
need that in downtown.
people want to go look
Yeah.
at something different than what we did.
Yeah.
However, my mix in our building, we have executives from St. Michael's, sisters, or whatever you call them
Yeah.
people now. We have nurses. We have a guy over the hospital in Hope. They're executives down there, and manager at some of the restaurants and things like that down there. So we have a good mix.
Okay.
What about, so the Texarkana, I guess where the Texarkana National Bank was across the street from Bi-State, is there any kind of developments on those going on, or
If
are you involved with that? I heard in some areas that you were, but I wasn't sure. I never asked you personally.
you saying the Texakana National Bank,
Yeah, the building beside the groom, I guess, and across the street from Bi-State.
yes, right across from Bi-State,
Yeah, yeah.
Texakana National Bank. Yes, I own that building, and I own the garage that's on the other side of Discovery Place. We are ready to build. I have a builder's permit. I got within a year ago May, the title company had all the loan documents, everything was there. We were ready to sign in 2 weeks, and one of my banks jumped ship. So I went and got involved in this other building, working on it. I'm embarrassed that those windows are not in.
Just so you know,
We're gonna get the windows in pretty quick.
We want those. I've talked to my guy. He wanted to remeasure something. I said, come down and measure it. We need those windows in. We got to get the windows in. Then it will look very nice. It's going to be 58 apartments, and
Wow.
and they're going to be the whole first floor is going to be a great event area. It's going to be elegant. It's going to look Art Deco. If you've been in my other buildings, you see that I kind of do things over the top on occasion. It's a little disease I have.
Oh, okay.
And it will be over the top, and you're going to look around and you're going to say, this is nice. And people are going to come in and they're going to, it's gonna, one of, we skipped the Banana Club, but one of the greatest, compliments we got was, I'm proud to be from Texakana because of the Banana Club.
Oh, wow.
Which we did talk about it, but I left off that important line.
Yeah.
Because they have a place to take people that they're proud of. And that's what the event area on the first floor is gonna be.
Oh, okay.
What we wanna do is we want to get, that done, and then do it, my worst case scenario is to finish the first floor, second floor, third floor, get them rented, fourth and fifth.
Yeah.
But it's gonna take years to do that.
Right.
I'm working with a bank right now that they're talking very positively to. I think I have an investor that can help make the bank happy.
Yeah.
And if that is able to happen, then we can build it and get it done in the next year and a half.
Oh, wow, good.
But like Mark jumped in and said, we need those windows in, and we'll try to force that to happen ahead of time, and then it will be more secure. Even though it's secure, it's the wind can still blow through it, and it's a beautiful building.
Yeah.
It is, and
When was it built? I'm sorry.
the first part of it was built in 1914. They built it 8 stories tall, 25 foot wide. So it's 105 feet, 25 foot wide. The reason they did that, and they spent the equivalent in 1910 of $1.2 million to buy that property, to tear down the building, because 75 foot away is their main competitor, which is State First National Bank. That was right across the street. So they were here, and they built it up taller so they could look more substantial, I suppose. In the 25-26 area, they added on 3 more and built it up. In 1970s, they bought the Womack's clothing store and added 2 stories and made it 5 stories, and that's where they had their big executive room. Back then, I know anyone younger than 30 do not know this, but back then, you were the biggest, most powerful bank because you had the biggest building. Now is who has the biggest website.
But is that a red brick, the original brick on there?
It is, and one of the first things okay.
In the 50s, they kind of put a facade on there.
When they were doing, it's 1970s. Let me back up just a second, because I wanted to buy the garage because I knew the Grim was coming in. I knew there would need to be parking. He said, we won't sell the garage without the bank. I said, well, how much is that? And I said, okay. So anyway, I see a little piece of the metal hanging down. So we had our scissor lift over at the other building 2 blocks away, so I drove it down the street, got up under there, and I pulled it down and stuck my camera up in there, and of course all the pictures were black. So I got in, edited them, and then I could see all the statuary was still there underneath that facade, the facade that was put in the 1970s. And I said, oh, really? It's all there. It's all there. I don't know. I can't see all the way up and that type of thing. I know, but I could see some of the snakes.
Yeah.
Okay. Everybody thinks it's a medical building because it has.
Yeah, that kind of medical,
It has
the medical.
Yes, a medical. It looks like a medical symbol. However, if you went to Sunday school and you studied your lesson, or when you weren't being okay. Anyway, it's a single staff with a single snake, because when they got bit in the wilderness, the Israelites, they had to look at this snake on the staff that Aaron held up so they could be cured of the snake bite, because they were being bad and God made them be good and that type of thing.
And that's what's on there?
That is not what's on there.
Okay.
That has 2 snakes, and it has a flaming thing that some Greek god used to carry around. He was over commerce.
Is his name Mark?
It can be in this context. so he's over commerce, and he's a tricky guy, and so that's why it's on the bank. And my line to that is, I'm just glad they had a reason to put snakes on the building.
There you
As opposed to a plane.
Yeah. So anyway, they put the facade on in the 1970s. They covered up all of the walls and all of the actual trim work is covered up by sheetrock everywhere. So then, it turns out there's asbestos in that facade. There's asbestos on our roof. There's asbestos in the sheetrock mud. So how do you get rid of the sheetrock mud? Well, the city of Texarkana, Texas gave us a loan to abate the building, meaning take out all the, so that sounds real horrible, but they got an EPA loan at low interest to take all the facade off, which we needed off anyway, because we can't go.
It was like a white.
It was a white.
Granite.
It was little pebble. The bottom had a marble on it, and the top had little pebble things. The stuff that glued those little pebbles had the asbestos in it. So basically, the contractor took all that off, and we took off again. You say I'm out there working. We were taking the actual marble off, and we have a lot stacks it up, and we're using part of it inside and doing some things with that. So where was I in my story?
Well, you were telling us, he asked you about buying the bank building, or
Yes.
having the bank building, and we were talking about taking the facade off, and you are now at the point that you think that you're fixing to start the first, second, and third floor, or the first floor anyway.
What's amazing is they had to take all that sheetrock off. And what was more amazing is all the trim work was still there. So we basically, when they did the abatement, they did a lot of the demo for us. And that allows us to go in the National Register of Historic Places. The bank is one national historic building. The garage is another. It was built in 1961. And so if you want to make a bank robber movie, driving through a drive-through, that's where you do it. So you say, well, I was worried about it getting done because I thought it was too new. Apparently 1961 was a long time ago.
It was a long time. You cannot get a jacked up truck through there, is that true?
You can't get a jacked up truck, but you can get a standard 17-wheel truck. My F-150 truck, extended cab, goes up there.
They're just fine.
And I had heard that you couldn't. I heard it was not structurally sound, and that you couldn't get a tall truck. And before I bought it, I took those pictures, and I said, well, there's one way of finding out. So I pried the door up illegally,
And drove your stuff.
and I got my door up, and I drove that truck to the very top floor, took a picture of it, drove it down, and bought the building.
You go right.
Good job. Good job.
So, you know, and I'm gonna back up here just a minute, because we mentioned that you are an electrical engineer, you're an entrepreneur, you're an artist, but another thing that you do is a storyteller. And because you write scripts for the Banana Club, I mean, you have plays.
Yeah, so we went to your Christmas play.
Did y'all really?
Yeah,
So how was it?
it was great, actually. I rather enjoyed it. It was rather comical, too.
Oh, well, we've done several. We did, the first one we ever did was The Phantom, which he was a serial killer in 1946. And this year we're going to do a little blip beforehand where it's called America's Monsters, and I'm going to interview the Phantom Killer, and I'll have be a typical host, and I'll say, you know, how is it, you know, and he'll get all mad. He said, where's my $500? I was going to $500. He says, well, the producer, you know, cut, you know, and then, anyway, that's a little commercial before the real play starts. Anyway, we did Bigfoot, which is about monster coming back to back around, and he walks around. We have like a 6'6" guy in a costume, and he has a head above him, so he looks the part. And
And did you write all these plays?
I did. We'll start rehearsals and say, what about if we did this? What if we did this?
Yeah.
I'm not authoritative. I say,
Yeah.
okay, let's try it. We'll
Okay.
put it in, and then we do the Texakana Christmas. We did then the Texakana Christmas, which is kind of like a combination between Meet the Parents and Sweet Home Alabama. But I mean, we're in the middle of that, and our guy playing the male part, he says, "Can I do a English accent?" he said, well, let's try it, you know, and so he does it through the whole thing. I could not have done that. I would always probably fall out of being my
Okay,
character.
so you kind of just write the base of it, and then you're open to
I
a little
would-
bit of editing. That makes it. I mean, that makes it probably a pretty.
I write a very strict one, and
Yeah.
then I will fuss at them for missing. I said this is important because later on this is going to happen.
Okay.
So you
okay.
have to say this precise.
Okay.
They'll say, okay, well we see that.
Yeah.
And I said later it's going to turn around
Yeah.
and be like he in that particular show that the dad is a just a redneck guy, mechanic guy, and the guy doesn't have respect for him. And so, but he has great mechanical skills, which helps him get out of a jam. But later on, because he has a doctorate in language, he's able to read the Latin on the medicine and see that they're wrong. And so, anyway, they don't want to spoil it for everybody, but it all has a happy ending.
Yeah. And when does this come out?
It'll be in December, or right around Halloween is when we do Phantom and Phantom Killer, and then right after that. Right before deer hunting season, we do the Bigfoot, because that's when you're going to see Bigfoot, or depends on how much you drank before at the camp beforehand. And then we do Cupid and around Valentine's Day. We do need to freshen it up some. It's real cute, but and we do it. Actually, when I'm sitting there moving the script along, sometimes they get off totally and they'll go off sideways, and so we got to get back on track, you know. But they're real cute. I want to do a history of Texakana, part 1, which is much like Mel Brooks's History of the World, part 1, which is a bunch of skits, like James Bowie coming across Fulton, and he said, you know, then he has to go across the Fulton Ferry, not the Dooleyberry Ferry, and not the Line Ferry, or, you know, well, man, you guys have a lot of ferries around here. So anyway, and he said, hey, we got a priest that used to be here. He went to a mission down at San Antonio. It's a place called the Alamo. As James Bowie, yeah, I'll try to look him up. I'll have to remember the Alamo. And so anyway, just a bunch of little skits like that go through with everything. I probably have enough content to get it up to the part 1, and then we'll have to do the bandit come to town in part 2. So
I got you with
who is that guy?
yeah.
I know you know what kind of car he drove though, right? Okay.
Told you I've been way too much into this.
Well, I appreciate that. So anyway, getting back to we did plays. We're trying to develop. The Texakana is really on my mind. I think I got everything going pretty well on the paint store, where we're going to get renovated. The Texakana is really. I'm right in the middle of talking to some people. I've got my scenarios sent off to some accountants to find the very best possible way that everything can flow through. It's a major project. It's going to be good for Texakana. I said Texakana. It's for everybody who wants to fuss about saying it the old school way. By doing that, I think we talked about that before we all got started, how downtown is becoming something. And there are still some sleeping cats.
Opportunities.
Yeah.
Cats can sleep 18 hours a day. What in the world? Who can sleep 18 hours a day? Well, there are a few people.
I really can't.
There are people sleeping on buildings downtown that need to be renovated. They need to save our history. I went to San Antonio this last weekend and rode the river, did the boat ride again. But again, they told the story about how this building was saved by the historian people. This building was saved by the historian. Now we're going around, oh, that's a great building.
So,
But nobody's
to
saying-
elaborate, before, I'm sorry
No.
to interrupt, but before, just to elaborate on some buildings need to be saved, what local restoration or remodelers are out there that, besides yourself, because you said you're a DIY guy, but you obviously can't do everything by yourself, and, or if you can. But what other one, who should they go to for
No,
the good work?
I hire craftsmen.
Yeah.
I have some people that work, a few people that work directly for me. Other than that, I'm hiring all subcontractors. There's some contractors, general contractors that just did the Eagle. Did a nice job there. I'm poor and pitiful, so I just go and save everything I can and just have the expertise so I can manage the project.
Yeah.
You can get in trouble if you hire the wrong people.
Yeah.
And that's what happens. Contractors are horrible. Well, you're hiring horrible people. You need to hire good people. And I sometimes I do pay a little bit more because I trust this person. There's people that can get a job done. There's rules and regulations from the cities. Texarkana, Texas has been very, very good to me. Arkansas gave me a little fussing here and there, but at the top, they're very good to me. We need to, we have to they will make me put a sprinkler system in that portable cooler building, and I'll have the only sprinkler system on that whole side of the street. What's that about, you know? But I'm gonna do it because when you're in an all wood building, besides the walls, it doesn't hurt. Town is back. Am I saying that because I believe it or because I want it to happen? It's a combination of both. I want it to happen, but it really is happening right before our eyes. So you go out and watch your garden, and you is it growing? What's it doing? You know, but all of a sudden you come back 2 days later and you see fruit and everything, and you start picking it, and it's happened so slowly, but it is happening. And there's investments going on. There's buildings. We have a personal friend that built a house down there.
Yes.
Be a great guest for you guys.
He'll be here.
There's a doctor downtown that's doing a big addition right next to Beauty Bar. He's investing in downtown, and
There's a new bar downtown that we
Eagle?
hope to get Chris and Melissa.
Chris and Melissa would be great. I talked to them again last night. We have the same audience, so we're pulling together there, and we'd love to be able to figure out how we can help each other to where our people come there and their people come there. So anyway, but you look at downtown, and we have a great federal building downtown. It's just they've cleaned it up. It's really looking good. I would like for them to make a triangle out of where the museum is and get the asphalt up. It has brick underneath there. Then I would love for them to tie the two projects together later. I'd love for them to put plaques on the sidewalks on both sides that talk about Ross Perot, the poet out of Stamps,
Scott Joplin
Scott Joplin, and as you see in Hot Springs.
There's a woman here that you have in the Banana Club that went to Los Angeles, who was one of the largest landholders, because her dad taught her to buy land. The actress.
Well, yes, Karina Griffith she became big time in films, silent films. She did one talkie and then she quit after that, and then she married the owner of the Washington Redskins, and yes, she had part of her childhood here. Her grandfather was Mr. Gio, which was the mayor. So she wrote a bunch of books and that type of thing. Scott, just down the line, you go to Hot Springs and you're sitting there seeing all these plaques there. We have the same thing here. And we have people, I'm downtown all the time, and I generally walk everywhere. I see people walking down there taking pictures of our buildings and saying, this is so cool. And we go to Eureka Springs and we see a triangular shaped building and say, oh, that's cool. We have them here too.
Yeah.
When they built the railroad, they put all the streets perpendicular to the railroad. Then they built the state line. They didn't build it, that's where it was, at an angle. So that caused us to have a bunch of triangular shaped lots. So that gave us some buildings that are very special looking. The medical arts building, which we used to be called the Riyadh Hotel, needs to be upgraded. It's owned by a family that has some sentimental feelings toward it right now, but we would love to have that. That's part of Texakana. The Grimm's been done. Once we get our Texarkana Bank done, it's gonna look like a different city, and then we're gonna be able to grow
Off
out
of that
from there.
area.
When you want a big plant to come to town, the president comes, you have clean air, you have plenty of water, it's a great
You
location.
want the town to be clean.
We are gonna put our plant here. 2 weeks later, the president comes back with her husband. I'll trick y'all on that one there. So, and then the husband or the wife looks around and says, "Their downtown's a hellhole. I'm not gonna move here."
Yeah.
And so the plant goes somewhere else. But they come down to a beautiful downtown and they say, these people care about where they live. That's the heart of their city. And they care how it looks and how it's presented with the history. And we have a great history.
We just need to tell it.
And that's why I named our building 1894. And because we don't pay attention. That building is older than most buildings in Chicago. Of course, Chicago burnt down, but that's beside the point. So anyway, I can close by saying downtown is back, and if you're waiting on the water to turn to a different temperature, you need to jump in now.
And I want to say, it was Burt Reynolds and Smokey and the Bandit.
Yes, in our story where we were going to have our others play, which is Texakana Part 1, Mel Brooks, and Part 2 would be with the Bandit, and that's what we talked about during a break.
Thank you for coming.
Appreciate
Thank
it
you
for
for
sure.
yeah, showing up
Yes.
at the last minute.
Yes.
I told, or I think that David is close to a Renaissance guy that I know, and especially in Texarkana.
And we were definitely-
He's forward thinking, and you're full of information. We appreciate you coming back.
Thank you.
And
so
we'll
much.
definitely love to have you back so we can check in on your progress.
Yeah,
for
progress.
sure.
Well, hopefully there'll be
Yeah.
progress to report, but
Oh, yeah.
we feel like we're
I
in
have
a
a
good
feeling
place.
there will be.
Yes,
Yeah.
the banker says, I'm not sure if we can do this, but I know it's gonna be done.
Yeah.
Just cause of, I guess I have, what's the word, I know.
You have drive.
Yeah.
You gonna push this.
Anyway,
You gonna push it forward.
Stupidity or whatever.
No.
thanks
no.
again, man. I appreciate
Thank
it
y'all,
for sure.
thank y'all so much.
Love you, buddy.
Yeah.